This is Sonic the Hedgehog 1. In this game, you play as Sonic the Hedgehog, who has access to such moves as the Spin Dash, Air Shield, and Drop Dash. Wait, what? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Dinger, and this is my review of Sonic the Hedgehog. So, as you may have guessed from that intro, I'm not exactly playing the original version of Sonic 1. In the original, Sonic can't Spin Dash, Insta Shield, or Drop Dash, and Tails, Knuckles, and Super Forms weren't around either. Between the original Genesis release, Mega Collection, the mobile port, and Origins, there have been multiple versions of Sonic 1 that have been released and re-released over the years. A person wanting to play Sonic 1 in 2024 might think, well, which one do I pick? Well, the most readily available version at this time is Origins. This, kinda by default, is the definitive way to play the first four classic games: Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic CD, and Sonic 3. While this is a pretty convenient way to play these games, I wouldn't call it the best way. Sure, it does have some quality of life improvements over the originals, but they unfortunately didn't preserve what was great about these games in ways that people hoped they would. I'm not really going to go into much more detail than that because that's not really what this video is about. Just know that a wise man once said, Sonic Origins is not finished. As far as I'm concerned, the best way to play Sonic 1 is to play Sonic forever. No, I don't mean play Sonic 1 for the rest of your life, although I probably will. Sonic Forever is the title of this port. Unfortunately for y'all console players out there, this is only available on PC, but the good news is, because this is an old 16-bit game, virtually any PC should be able to run it just fine. I mean, this is no Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. This is a fan-made remaster of the mobile port from 2013. I'll put a link in the description to the website where you can download the game, where you'll just follow the instructions provided to install the game on your PC. Worth noting that you'll also need a Sonic the Hedgehog APK file in order to run the game. How do you get that?
Pirates.
Alright, now that we've got the game installed, let's boot it up, shall we? Wait a minute, that music sounds different than the original. Yes, it does. We'll get to that. Right off the bat, we're greeted to a main menu screen. In any other game, this would be a seemingly innocuous detail, but the original game didn't have this, so it's noteworthy. There's a ton of different options you can customize, including re-enabling the UFOs in Marble Zone that were cut in the original. Neat. You can also set how many Chaos Emeralds there are. You can set it to 6 like the original, or you can set it to 7 like all the other games. What are Chaos Emeralds, I hear you ask? We'll get to that. It's also worth mentioning that this game has an in-game pause menu. You can exit the stage, restart from a checkpoint, and you can also see how many emeralds you have. The original didn't have a pause menu. When you press start, the game would just kinda freeze? I don't like that. It always made me think the Genesis was crashing. Anyway, to start playing, choose Save Select, choose a save file, and then pick a character. Sonic Forever gives you 6 different options: Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Sonic and Tails, and Knuckles and Tails. In other words, there are 4 playable characters, but Sonic and Knuckles each have the option to have Tails join you as a partner. Tails can potentially get in the way and occasionally has wonky AI, but overall I think it's beneficial to have him as a partner. Note that when you select a character, the file you pick is dedicated to that character. If you want to play as a different character, you'll have to start from the beginning on a different file. Thankfully, the game is very short and can be beaten in roughly an hour and a half, so playing through the game multiple times in order to play as different characters is well within a reasonable runtime. For my first file, I'm going to go with Sonic and Tails. So, now that we're actually playing the game, what is this game? What is Sonic the Hedgehog? It's a 2D, side-scrolling, momentum-based platformer. Unlike most 2D platformers, Sonic doesn't need to jump on top of an enemy to defeat it. When he jumps, it puts him in a ball state, in which he will damage any enemy he touches. However, if Sonic touches an enemy without being in a ball, Sonic will take damage. Now, the health system for this game is a bit unusual. Sonic will die if he touches an enemy, plain and simple. To prevent this, get a ring. As long as you have at least 1 ring, taking damage will instead cause Sonic to drop his rings, and if you're quick enough, you can pick them up again. Rings aren't the only means by which to keep Sonic alive. There's also the shield power-up. Very simply, getting hit while you have a shield instead causes you to lose the shield, rather than losing any rings. Another cool option that Sonic Forever provides is backporting the elemental shields from Sonic 3 into this game. More on that later. Unlike Mario, which I would describe as a block platformer, Sonic doesn't jump on blocks so much as he rolls on slopes. As I mentioned in the intro, Sonic has access to the Spin Dash. Simply hold the down arrow, mash the jump button to charge up, and release. Also, this game only uses 1 button. Neat, I guess. This will give him a burst of speed, damage enemies in his path, and put him in a rolling state. Now, if you happen to be running with some horizontal momentum, you can press down to make Sonic roll. Note that this is the only way to make him roll in the original, because in the original, he did not have access to the Spin Dash. If you held down and pressed jump, he would just jump, and that is super jarring to me. If you're rolling on a flat surface, Sonic will slow down until he eventually stops, but if you're rolling down a hill, Sonic will gain speed even faster than he would if he was running on foot. If you understand this principle, congratulations, you can now play every 2D Sonic game. Now let's talk about those elemental shields I mentioned earlier. The fire shield protects you from fire and allows you to walk on lava. Cool. The lightning shield protects you from electric hazards and attracts nearby rings like a magnet. And the bubble shield lets you breathe underwater. The Forever team did a great job with shield placement. Marble Zone, with its many fiery hazards, has fire shields. Springyard Zone has lightning shields, which Sonic can take advantage of with the double jump it provides, and Labyrinth Zone has bubble shields because it's underwater. Now, all of these mechanics and abilities I just talked about, rings, shields, jumping, rolling, spin dashing, momentum, all of those things apply to every character, but every character also has specific abilities that only they can do. So, what can Sonic do that the other characters can't? First, let's talk about the Insta-Shield. Simply jump, and then press jump again in the air, and Sonic will create this shield which only lasts for a couple of frames. This shield can extend the damage radius on his hitbox and give him temporary invincibility, protecting him from certain enemy attacks that would normally damage him, even when he's in a ball. Second, Sonic can perform the drop dash. Jump and hold the jump button in the air to essentially charge up a spin dash while airborne, which will make Sonic blast off as soon as he touches the ground. Note that you can cancel this by simply letting go of the jump button before touching the ground. And finally, Sonic can take unique advantage of those elemental shields I mentioned earlier, each one giving him a unique double jump. The fire shield grants him an air dash, sort of like the homing attack except it doesn't home. The lightning shield gives him a standard double jump, giving him extra height, and the bubble shield lets him bounce. So, those are Sonic's unique abilities, but what can everyone else do? Tails' gimmick is flight. Jump and press the jump button in the air to start flying. This will carry Tails' momentum into his flight, so at what point you press the jump button while in the air is an important consideration. Now Tails can't fly forever. Fly for too long and he'll get tired and start falling. While flying, Tails can damage enemies that are directly above him by hitting them with his tails. Other 2D Sonic games require that you tap the jump button repeatedly to fly up, but the Forever team included this nice quality of life change in which you need only use the D-pad. Another thing you can do in this game that you can't do in most other 2D Sonic games is that Tails can drop out of his flight. While flying, hold down and press jump, and Tails will drop out of his flight and go into a ball. Also, when underwater, Tails' flight animation changes from flying to swimming. Given that Tails' flight gives him a pretty big advantage in a lot of tricky platforming situations, I generally consider Tails the easy mode over Sonic's gameplay. If you're new to 2D platformers, I recommend Tails. Knuckles' gameplay is generally a bit slower and more methodical. Where Tails is the easy mode, Knuckles could be considered a hard mode, since he doesn't jump as high as the rest of the cast. As you can imagine, this can make platforming and bosses more difficult. However, he more than makes up for it with his ability to glide and climb on walls, jump and hold jump to start gliding, which you can use to damage enemies in your path. If you release the button, Knuckles will drop to the ground. Note that you cannot glide again or damage enemies while in this falling state, as Knuckles is not in a ball. Unlike Tails' flight, Knuckles' momentum will not carry into his glide. Gliding will reset his momentum. This can slow him down, but you can also use this to your advantage. If you're about to run into a hazard, you can save yourself by pointing the opposite direction and gliding. Also, unlike Tails' flight, Knuckles will never get tired while gliding. If you hit a wall while gliding, Knuckles will grab onto it. From there, you can climb up, down, or simply jump off. This allows Knuckles to reach many areas others can't. For that reason, Knuckles is my personal favorite to play in the classic games. Knuckles also has a passive ability. There are quite a few walls in this game which can be destroyed to find secrets. Everyone else has to roll to destroy them, but Knuckles can just walk right through them, destroying them with his fists. And finally, Amy. The Forever team actually added Amy to this game themselves, and they gave her her own unique moveset specific to this game. If you hold up while on the ground and press jump, Amy will launch herself with a huge hammer vault. Note that this move can damage enemies on the way up, but not on the way down. This move is a ton of fun, but it can be a bit risky. You kind of need to know the level layout in advance in order to take full advantage of it, because you can't quite see where you're going with it, and it can be really easy to launch yourself directly into a hazard. It's worth noting that every character can look up or down and see more of the level by holding up or down for about a second or two. With Amy, I recommend looking up for a moment so you can see where you're going with the hammer vault. Like Knuckles, Amy also has a glide move. Jump and hold jump in the air to glide and damage enemies in your way. Unlike Knuckles' glide, this won't reset your momentum, which means that you can't use it to instantly turn around and save yourself from hazards, but you can use it to great speedrunning effect. Now that we've talked about all 4 playable characters, let's talk about the other 2 options, Sonic and Tails and Knuckles and Tails. Let's talk about the Tails partner. So, in most other classic Sonic games, 2 players can play as Sonic and Tails together as a team. It was basically little brother co-op. The camera focused on Sonic and the game pretty much treated him as if he were the only playable character. Tails could help out during boss fights, but most of the time it was just Sonic running around on his own and Tails attempting to keep up. Unfortunately, this, in my opinion, is the biggest drawback of playing this version of the game. Because it's a remake of the mobile port, Sonic Forever doesn't have multiplayer. If you're dead set on playing Sonic 1 co-op, you'll need to find a different version. So what's the use of Tails if you can't have another player play him, I hear you ask? Well, for one thing, Tails can actually pick up rings for you if he happens to run into them, and he can damage bosses if he happens to jump into them. But the biggest advantage of having a Tails partner is that he can carry you and fly around with you. To do this, jump, wait for Tails to jump, and press up plus jump while Tails is in the air. Tails will start flying around your general area. Jump onto him and he'll carry you while flying. To jump off, hold down and jump. Essentially, having a Tails partner gives you all the abilities of the character you picked, Sonic or Knuckles, plus all of Tails' abilities. It's the best of both worlds. Is it cheating? I don't care. So, now that we've talked about everything the characters can do, let's talk about the places they do stuff in, also known as zones. There are 6 zones in the game, and each zone has 3 acts, and your progress is saved whenever you complete an act. The first zone is one that probably every generation of Sonic fan has seen at this point, Green Hill Zone. Now, I think it's safe to say that at this point in the series, Green Hill Zone is a bit overused, but let's give credit to where credit is due and acknowledge that in its first outing, Green Hill Zone is fantastic. It's a fun playground for exploration, playing with momentum physics, and it's also very fun to speedrun. The Forever team also added achievements to the game, and you'll get an achievement if you get all the rings in this cluster right here, which can be made easier if you grab a lightning shield earlier in the stage. Awesome, I beat Act 1. Now it's time for Act 2, right? No! As you can see, I jumped into this ring, and... Oh, that's horrifying. Hold on, let me adjust some settings here. Okay, we're good. If you finish an act while carrying at least 50 rings, this giant ring will appear right after the signpost. If you're quick enough, you can jump into it and it'll take you to a special stage. The special stages are essentially mini-games in which you can find one of 6, or 7 if you set it to that, Chaos Emeralds. In the original game, getting all 6 would get you the good ending, in which Robotnik is mad that he didn't get any. That's pretty much it. If you miss any, Eggman would gloat that he has them. Yeah, this ain't worth it. These special stages are ridiculous. You're in a ball for the whole stage, the stage rotates, and you gotta find your way through to reach the emerald. Touching the R blocks reverses the direction. Touching the up blocks makes it rotate faster. Touching the down blocks makes it rotate slower. Touching these stars bounces you, and touching these strangely named goal blocks boots you out of the level. You can jump, and you maybe kinda sorta have horizontal control. I don't know, man. It just seems like when I press left and right, it barely does anything. The worst part of these stages has to be the nauseating goal blocks. It's very easy to just fall into them with seemingly no control, and it just trivializes the entire... Oh, I didn't get kicked out. That's because I am a cheater. Sonic the Hedgehog Forever has mod support, and this mod makes it so the goal block does nothing. Thank you, Shaggy. This mod is a godsend. And since we're talking about mods, there's a couple of other mods that I recommend. There's this Knuckles mod that changes his sprites to be more in line with the Sonic 1 art style. And there's this mod that displays the health of bosses, so that way you know you're actually making progress when you damage them. Although it can be a bit misleading in the Labyrinth Zone boss because you don't actually need to damage him. We'll get there. Back to the special stages, that goal block mod does wonders to alleviate a lot of frustration. However, it's still Sonic 1 special stages, guys. You're still trying to finagle wonky controls, and you're mostly just hoping that you happen to land on the emerald rather than actively seeking it out and getting it. I mean, look at how much I struggled in the special stages Tails. And in this one as Amy, I destroyed almost every block surrounding the emerald before I finally got it.
Skill issue.
Yeah, I know, but whatever, I got the emerald. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with special stages in general. Failing a special stage means that you've missed your chance to get an emerald, and you only have 10 chances to get all 7 emeralds. You can get to the special stage at the end of Act 1 or 2 of each zone, with the exception of Scrap Brain Zone, which means that there are 10 special stage entrances. So if you fail more than 3 of them, then you miss your chance to get all 7 emeralds by the end of the game. That's what I don't like so much about special stages. That's why I made it so I can't fail. Then again, I can't be too hard on these special stages. I mean, they did make a pretty smart decision in giving you these intangible blocks that become solid when you pass through them, keeping you inside the area with the emerald so that you don't fall out and get lost or anything. Let's jump through these blocks and... I am on the wrong side, and I can't get to the emerald now. Strangely, there's no restart option when you pause a special stage, but thankfully you can exit, go back into your save file, and try again. What I do like about the special stages is just the whole process of getting 50 rings, getting to the special stage, and then collecting each emerald one by one. I find the overall process pretty satisfying. As I mentioned before, after getting all the emeralds in the original version of Sonic 1, Eggman would just be mad about not having the emeralds. But what happens in the Forever version? Well, we'll get to that. Alright, we've talked about Green Hill, we've talked about special stages, now it's time to talk about Marble Zone, right? Well, no, I want to talk more about the special stages. More specifically, I want to talk about the music. More specifically, I want to talk about the music I added. Yeah, remember the different sounding music in the intro and I said we'll get to that? Well, it's getting got to. I actually added this music myself. If you go into the folder in which you have the game installed, you can go to Data and then Music, and then you'll find all of the music files that play during the game, and you can replace them with your own. Give it the exact same name as the song you want to replace, and replace the original file. Before you do that though, I recommend backing up the original audio files just in case. Or don't. I don't know, you can do what you want. There's so many fantastic covers of Sonic music out there, and they're just too good to not use. I mean, just listen to this cover of the special stage. I almost feel like I'm not losing my sanity while playing special stages. Marble Zone. Where Green Hill Zone is a great playground to mess around with Sonic's unique physics and abilities, Marble Zone is much more traditional. Yep, it's your typical slow-paced block platforming this time around. This is where we're introduced to probably the most infuriating way to die in a Sonic game: getting crushed. Just like falling into a pit, it doesn't matter how many rings you have, it doesn't matter if you have a shield, it doesn't matter if you're invincible, it doesn't even matter if you have all 7 emeralds, which we'll talk about later, you will die if you get crushed. I wonder if Sonic's theme was inspired by these crusher blocks. The good news is, this zone has plenty of fire shields, which make you immune to fire hazards and let you walk on lava. Not only does it make the game easier, but it also makes it more fun in my opinion, since it lets you move faster. But be careful, getting hit causes you to lose the shield, and thus lose your fire immunity. By the way, speaking of fire shields and crushing, this has got to be the most weirdly specific death I've ever experienced in a Sonic game. I have a fire shield so I walk on the lava, but these gaps here are just a little bit too small for Sonic to fit through normally, so I roll to make his hitbox smaller, but I run out of speed, so Sonic stops, stands up, and dies. Sheesh, imagine being immune to lava, but you stand up so quickly you smash your head against marble so hard that you cease to function. There's also quite a few secrets you can find in this level. Try hugging walls every so often, and you might pass right through it and find a secret room containing rings and lives. Act 3 is definitely my favorite act in this level. Toward the beginning of this act, you have 2 different options. You can go left, or you can go right. But the Forever team actually added a secret third option that you can access as Knuckles or Tails. Or Sonic with Tails. Sorry, Amy. Climb or fly up this wall and you can take another route. This route feels like it was tailor-made for Knuckles because it takes really good advantage of his gliding and wall climbing, but it can still be completed as Tails. Or Sonic and Tails. But the best thing about Marble Zone has got to be the music. This cover is a personal favorite of mine. What is a spring yard? I don't know. This zone is fun, but nothing special. It's pretty notorious for being slow and crushy. I like this part though, where you can hit a switch to make a block move out of your way, but if you're fast enough, you can get past it and get to a secret room before it's closed off. I tried landing on this enemy as Tails, but got hit anyway. I guess he uncurled a frame before landing on the platform. Yeah, I really took a beating during my Tails playthrough. He flies very fast horizontally, and it's pretty easy to get blindsided by hazards. After all, Tails wasn't in the original version, so this wasn't made with his flight in mind. One thing you can do in this level, and the whole game for that matter, is you can jump off of walls. Build up enough speed, and you can carry your momentum into a wall jump that sends you flying. I used it to get to the secret room here containing speed shoes and invincibility. Man, if only there was another way I could go fast and be invincible at the same time. Funnily enough, Amy actually has her own route in Act 1. There's a path up here that has a whole bunch of rings, so naturally, you're going to want to go here if you're going for all the emeralds. Playing as Sonic, I had to go this way and then backtrack to the left through the level. Looking at the map, I thought, oh, I just need to get over this structure, which I'll surely be able to do as Knuckles or Tails. But alas, no.
Nope.
I tried flying as Tails and climbing as Knuckles, but for some reason the game just didn't let me. But it does work for Amy and her Hammer Vault. This is the definitive way to experience this route because it gives you a lightning shield right off the bat, making it easier to get all those rings. Also, during my Sonic and Tails playthrough, Tails died during the boss fight and Eggman laughed at him. Tails, no! Or you think this is funny? Labyrinth Zone, I'm pretty sure is a consensus least favorite level. This level introduces you to water mechanics. Unlike Mario, Sonic cannot swim, and he cannot breathe underwater. Stay underwater for too long, and you'll hear this. And yes, that is another custom song that I added. It's the drowning theme from Sonic Colors. I had to tweak the timing a bit to get it just right, but the timing is perfect, if I do say so myself. There's two ways to prevent drowning. You can grab an air bubble while underwater to reset the drowning timer, or you can grab a bubble shield, which lets you breathe underwater. But I think the real reason this level is despised is not so much the drowning mechanic, but the fact that while you're underwater, you're essentially playing the game in slow motion. Sheesh, I don't want to be underwater anymore. I wish there was a way around it. Turns out, there is! Once you get to this point in Act 1, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy can all easily fly and glide over this area to take a shortcut. Sonic, on the other hand, well, if you have Tails with you, he can help you fly, but Sonic can still use this shortcut even when he's by himself. If you press this switch over here, it'll open this door, but it'll also create this platform up here, which you can ride across. Note that this route has exactly 50 rings, so if you want to get to the special stage, make sure to grab them all, and don't— dang it! Now, the way you're supposed to get back up here is to ride this platform and make this tricky jump past these spikes, but unfortunately, I messed it up and now I can't use the platform. I wonder if Tails can help. Ah, that's right, Tails can't carry Sonic while underwater. Well, okay, maybe I can jump onto Tails and then jump off again to gain just enough height to— Starlight Zone is my personal favorite. It's got a kinda cool city aesthetic. There's lots of loop-de-loops for speedy gameplay, and the music is beautiful. This is my favorite song in the game. In Starlight Zone, I also have access to—
Now I'll show you!
Whoa, what's that? That is Supersonic. That's what happens when you collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds. Collect 50 rings, jump, and press Y.
This game only uses one button.
In this state, you move faster, jump higher, and you're invincible. Mostly. However, Amy and Knuckles don't jump higher when they're in their super forms. Oh well. But be wary, while you're in a super form, you will lose 1 ring every second, and when you run out, you'll revert back to your base form and you'll be at risk of dying in 1 hit since you don't have any rings. So when you transform is an important consideration. Do I transform when I get 50 to turn invincible right away, or do I collect more rings to give myself more time in my super form while risking getting hit and losing them? Well, I've got plenty of rings now, so I'm going to go ahead and turn super, and the level's over. The level is over. Yeah, that'll happen when you're playing as Supersonic in Sonic 1. Supersonic wasn't in the original version, so the levels weren't really designed with Supersonic in mind. Oh well, it's certainly better than not having Supersonic. Only with the power of the Chaos Emeralds can you overcome Desk Fan. Now, I haven't really mentioned the bosses much in this video, but I think the Starlight boss is actually pretty noteworthy. The bosses up until this point are pretty self-explanatory. Avoid their attacks, hit them 8 times. That's about it. I guess it's kind of interesting that the boss is Eggman every time, though it is a bit of a shame that they never really gave Sonic a proper rogues gallery. The Labyrinth boss is kind of interesting in that it's not really a boss, and you don't actually need to deplete his health, it's just a platforming gauntlet. That's it. Regardless, I think the Starlight boss is the best boss in the game. Throughout the level, there have been these seesaw type contraptions with a spike ball on one side. You can land on the seesaw to launch the ball. When it lands on the other side, you can use it to launch yourself up to higher platforms. Here, those same seesaws are implemented in the boss fight. Eggman will drop bombs on the seesaws, which will explode and damage you if you wait too long. You can damage Eggman by either jumping on the seesaw to launch the bomb right back at him, or you can use the weight of the bomb to launch yourself and hit him that way. Of course, I usually resort to doing super and jumping super high to hit him that way, which you unfortunately cannot do as Knuckles. Alright, Tails, give me a hand. There we go. And finally, we have the last zone, Scrap Brain. Where Labyrinth Zone wants you to stop having fun, Scrap Brain wants you to die. I've played this game multiple times and I still get blindsided by nonsense. But hey, at least I got this hilarious disaster that happened during my Knuckles playthrough. Alright, let's explore a bit. Okay, I just got stopped by the platforms. Yeah, it's fine, I'm sure I'll hit a wall eventually, and there we go. Okay, now I'm just gonna climb up, and I'm stuck. Okay, let's go back the other way. Let's see what we got. Okay, got hit by those platforms again, and I just need to grab the wall. There we go. Okay, now I'm dead. Oh, Tails! Oh, thank you, Tails. Okay, we're good. We're fine. We're just gonna land on the platform. Gonna land on a platform. Never mind. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about Scrap Brain. It's the last level, it's hard, you're gonna get hit a lot. Except, well, I guess now would be a good time to talk about the theme of this game. This game, and many Sonic games, have a kind of nature versus industry theme, and you can see it in the level aesthetics as we progress through the game. Green Hill being the most natural looking level, Marble Zone having some nature as well as some ruins, Kind of a precursor to Sonic Frontiers now that I think about it. Spring Yard appears to be in a city, but there's still quite a bit of greenery in the background. Labyrinth Zone appears to be in some ruins which seem to lack anything natural and organic. Starlight Zone is a very urban-looking city, and Scrap Brain is a pollutant factory, Eggman's home base. I gotta say, I like the fake-out ending at the end of Act 2. Normally when you finish an act, it fades to black, or white if you're going to a special stage, but not this time. This time, the camera pans to the right. You run off to face Eggman, but he drops you into a pit. Now, I've heard some folks say that this is Labyrinth Zone, and I mean, yeah, it looks similar, but the title card says Scrap Brain, the music is still Scrap Brain, and the colors are completely different. I'm thinking Eggman made this death trap himself. One thing that the Forever team added that was pretty cool is this unused goggles power-up hidden in the ceiling. While equipped, you can breathe underwater. Unfortunately, it's ultimately a downgrade of the bubble shield. You'll lose the goggles if you get hit, and you'll get the rings knocked out of you. But hey, still pretty cool that it's here. Instead of going that way though, I'm gonna take this shortcut. If you're quick enough, you can take this path before it gets closed off. And you can finish the level much more quickly. Although for some reason when I played as Tails, I got horribly lost and it took me forever to get through it. Look at this, I drowned so hard the game crashed. After reaching the red spring, we're finally at the final boss. For the final boss, you have 0 rings. I hope you've been stocking up on lives because one hit will end you. It's really not that hard. Honestly, it's more of a test of patience. Eggman shoots out these electro balls which try to home in on you. You dodge them, and then you wait for Eggman to expose himself. Eggman tries to crush you with 2 of these 4 pistons, and he's always inside one of them. After hitting him 8 times, you win. Right? Hey, wait a minute, where do you think you're going? Yeah, take one for the road. That'll show him. After defeating Eggman and Scrap Brain, Sonic heads back to Green Hill, where he uses the power of the emeralds to grow some lovely flowers, even if Sonic himself looks distraught. And that is Sonic the Hedgehog. Wait a minute, when that guy was adjusting mods in the game, wasn't there a Mario mod? Yes, there is, and it's awesome. And I love it so much I even put together my own Sonic-style Mario soundtrack for this mod, and I made a playlist for it. Link in the description. Unlike Sonic, Mario doesn't go into a ball when he jumps, so he actually has to land on top of the enemies to defeat them, but he can also damage them with his dive move, which can be performed by holding up on the D-pad and pressing jump in the air. Mario can also ground pound by pressing down on the D-pad and pressing jump in the air, and if you jump right when you ground pound, you can jump extra high and go into a ball. There's even an option to replace the shields with fire flowers. Also, Mario can swim. Labyrinth Zone is the best level now. Hey, remember that one time when Mario got all the Chaos Emeralds and became Super Mario? Well, I sure do.
Mario time!
Okay, is it just me, or does he kind of look like Omni-Man when he's running at full speed in his super form? Makes sense, considering he's... Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching my first review. You know, I just really wanted to get back into making Sonic videos, and I figured what better place to start than the beginning. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and if you'd like to support my work, please check out my Patreon. And as always, thank you all so much for watching, and keep being awesome.